Hello there, and welcome to the I Never Knew podcast, also known as Inc. This show dives into the life experiences of people who have been through it all and have come through the other side stronger, better, and triumphant. Each story is raw, authentic, and, at times, heartbreaking. One thing joins it all together: the fact that the stories can help the listener learn and grow. Hosted by life coach Maureen, she sits down each episode with a new guest who will empower the listener to set out on their self-discovery journey and start to heal. Now you'll be joined by Maureen and her special guest. Please enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Never Knew, or Inc. by Life Coach Maureen. Today I have a really exciting guest with us today. He is very unique, not in the unique way that every one of my guests has a fabulous story of trauma healing and things that we've overcome. But in the way that he's unique is his methodology of overcoming trauma and the things he's doing to help others overcome their trauma. So I'm super excited to welcome Michael Thornhill. Welcome.
Maureen, everyone, thanks so much for having me. An absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks so much.
Okay, your accent alone just brings me joy.
People can get healed with a British accent. It is possible. That is an alternative healing modality, just listening to a British person.
I am not even joking. Like, you could say anything. You could say like peanut butter, banana, and I'd be like, oh, I'm in a meditation state now. So I love it. You're such a handsome guy. And interestingly enough, you're coming to us from Peru.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Would you like to have a quick look behind at the Andean Mountains?
Really? Are you really going to do that? Oh, I'm breathless right now. Oh, you guys, this is not some fake background that we pretend we're at the ocean or something. He literally has this view outside of his window. Oh my word, I'm so jealous. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Michael. So Michael Thornhill is a co-founder of Casa Galactica, which I think is the coolest name ever. It just makes me feel like this is big, this is huge. And he's out of Peru. Michael is a traditionally trained plant spirit healer, professional channel, and advocate of trauma-informed care. Recovering from addiction, trauma, and abuse have been a big part of Michael's own healing journey. He now dedicates his life to helping others heal themselves. Casa Galactica offer ayahuasca healing and evolution retreats, online private sessions, and group programs for dedicated inner truth seekers and multidimensional healers. How fabulous is that? And we're going to get into what he does and everything that he offers and how everyone can get a hold of him and join if this is something that really resonates for you. Since it's I Never Knew, we start with our story, so I can't wait to hear. Tell us about your addiction, trauma, and abuse story.
Well, yeah, thank you for asking, and thank you for a beautiful introduction. Happy to share more about this and anything else that we want to dive into today. So, as you may know, we've already kind of touched upon it. I'm from the UK, in North Wales, and the UK, I think, has a fabulous drinking and drug culture. And it is kind of part of the culture that people go out on the weekends, they party, they listen to music, and it's just the way things are done. That was how it was growing up for me. And I got into smoking marijuana around about 12 years old and was drinking. And really, I had a period of time in my childhood where I actually stopped drinking, stopped smoking, and I was playing rugby, a sport in the UK for people who don't know that. And I wanted to play professionally. So that was kind of my outlet, was training, playing sport, wanting to play professionally. And that was kind of a way for me to deal with anger, depression, anxiety, all the other things that I had not really uncovered, like PTSD and abuse and things like that. Sport was a way out for me. And then I got a scholarship to go to college to play rugby. And this college was from 16 years old onwards. That's how it works in the UK, slightly different. This is before university. And unfortunately, I injured my shoulder, or fortunately, you might look at it, because I wouldn't be here today if I'd not injured my shoulder. But at the time, it felt very unfortunate. And at that point, I just gave up. I just gave up and said, well, I tried. If I'm not going to play sport, I don't need to keep myself healthy. The main reason I kept myself healthy was so that I could be at optimum fitness and performance to continue to play rugby. And, I went to university, I studied chemistry and got very much into the party scene, into getting into harder drugs, music, partying, and was a DJ, producing music, still a musician, still produce music, just in a different way. And really, I just got into this life where I was chasing the weekend, and I got into a job, into recruitment and energy recruitment, finding people work in the energy sector, and yeah, earned more money and did more drugs, and kind of spiraled more and more. For the first part, I guess it was really great, a lot of fun, and it was fantastic. And honestly, I don't really regret that much in that sense, because it was just part of the experience of what I've had in this lifetime. But there really came a point where and I think it's a classic, the kind of highs get less, or you kind of have to go harder to get this kind of like high, or party for more days and these types of things. And then the lows would just get lower. And I really recognized and realized that I wasn't able to stay sober for even a day. It was straight away after work, smoking weed, drinking every day, partying every weekend, these types of things. And after a while, the kind of turning point for me, I guess, in my life, and I think many people have this as part of their awakening, was actually a death in my family. It was my mother's death about 5 or 6 years ago. She was ill all my life. I thought she would have died a few times and she'd recovered. So she just had a lot of different illnesses and conditions throughout her life. And then when it finally actually happened, then it was a really big transformation for me, because there's all this grief of the whole year, of the whole life really, of expecting, worrying if she was going to die or not, if she was going to be there. Then there was also the support that I was emotionally and physically and sometimes financially supporting her. And then there was just the whole process of then letting all that go, and then the deep grief and sadness of my mum's gone. My mum's gone. So that was a difficult process. And at that point, I looked at my life and the amount of drugs and drinking that I was taking. And after I saw death in the face, I just felt, I don't really want to do this to my family. I don't want to do this to my loved ones. And I don't really want to die, even though I was suicidal. It was more like an apathy for life because of the depression, anxiety, and PTSD, and some of the trauma I'll get into in a minute. But that sparked me as the kind of like the catalyst to change. So I started getting into meditation. I started working with a sound healer who was doing some Reiki work, and actually got in contact with my mother's spirit through the Reiki sessions and the sound healing, which was amazing. And I thought I'd gone crazy, and I didn't really know what was happening at the time, because I was kind of suited and booted and working in the rat race and running my own company in renewable energy recruitment. But something about it I knew was very true, was very deep, was very spiritual, was something more than what anyone had told me in my life. Not anything that religion had told me, not anything that going to church or learning a religious education in school had ever taught me. Nothing that was ever passed down, or anything that was really on the radar of anyone in my group of friends. But there was something there that was undeniably true, and it was calling me somewhere. So I followed that calling and that path. And that led me to this sound healer actually mentioning ayahuasca to me as a plant medicine, which I was not aware of, which originates in the Amazon in Peru, which is why I live in Peru, because we work with ayahuasca here in Peru, completely 100% legal, just so that you know that as well. And I was in Berlin at the time, and I was able to find an ayahuasca ceremony, and I had this absolutely profound awakening where I was able to see that underneath all of the core addictions, underneath all of the trauma and the suffering, really was what it was. It was this lack of unconditional love. I didn't know what unconditional love was, and I was chasing it synthetically through all of the different addictions, all of the different substances, all of the different ways of being. I went back to being reborn, living on breathing on my mother's chest, and feeling the unconditional love of my mother and father. And just feeling this healing the wounds, feeling the connection with my mother, recognizing that she still existed, that healing a deep wound within me. And then subsequent ceremonies, it took me to see that the life that I was actually living was completely out of alignment. This is not why I'd incarnated. This is not why I was here. And then on top of all of that, what I would say the lack of unconditional love, which was also wrapped in many different traumas, the unpacking of that there was also this life that I was living that was completely out of alignment. So I was earning money to then just escape my life and spend it on drugs and partying, rather than actually living a life day in, day out, which is in alignment, which I can hand on my heart say is pretty much the case these days. Not saying that it's not off days. You think, okay, what's going on? But it's not like perfect. But hand on my heart, it's just like I'm just so grateful for my life. Got a beautiful wife. We've got our business. We're able to live in service to others, have great conversations with people like yourself, and share about the magic of plant medicines, alternative healing modalities, and how people can come home to the truth of who they are. So just briefly, just bringing us up to speed to where we are. After these experiences in the jungle, in Berlin, I decided to go traveling. I went to India and Nepal studying Reiki and yoga, wanting to integrate, learn more about spirituality, found some great teachers. I went very inward and went on this big adventure that I was also able to do because I wasn't necessarily needed to be at home or close by because my mother was no longer there. So there was that freedom and space within that. So I went and I traveled and I booked myself into a 3-month initiation course here in the jungle in Peru, and went and studied with indigenous teachers, did many different ayahuasca ceremonies, other plant medicines, on a deep journey of healing and evolution, and then learning how to facilitate and hold ayahuasca ceremonies, which was then when, not long after that, I got a apprenticeship working at an ayahuasca retreat center, learning and continuing to study in the jungle, which is what is known as dieting, which is a period of fasting and isolation and going to learn from trees as teachers. And this is the essence of the work that we do with plants, is having plants as teachers and allies throughout the process of holding space for others. I met my beautiful wife, Jamie. We worked side by side, continuing to hone our practices and skills. And after a period of time, we recognized what we're here to do is offer trauma-informed care. And we're here to also help people to learn to channel, connect to their own multidimensional nature, embody their truth. And we knew it was time for us to start doing things on our own, because it wasn't really matching up in an alignment with the way that we were doing things, which other people were doing. Because everyone has their own soul blueprint, everyone has their own way of doing things, but we knew that it was time for us to start bringing this forth. This is where Casa Galactica was born, here in Peru, which is a home in the cosmos for people to come to activate your intuition, empower your healing, and embody your truth. Where we work with different plant medicines like ayahuasca and other non-psychoactive plant medicines that are able to help clean the mind, body, and spirit. We work with people with a lot of trauma, PTSD, abuse history, and help people to also step into that unconditional love that I mentioned before that I found in my life was missing. Help people to recognize and connect that that's actually our true nature. Help people to learn to communicate, contact spirit in a way that's going to be empowering for them in their own healing journey, and also help people become aware of their own multidimensional abilities to help others heal and evolve. And this is our life's work. And we're based here in the Sacred Valley of Peru. And we run small 4-person ayahuasca retreats, healing and evolution retreats, where we combine all of the work that we do, channeling, intuitive work, trauma-informed care, plant medicine, in an environment that really can help people change their life, that can catalyze processes for 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it may be. My own abuse history underneath the addiction was being sexually assaulted, violently, ritualistically abused as a child. And this was completely repressed. So over the last 5 years or so of my life, I've been unraveling that, healing the trauma, healing all of those wounds, among many others, learning to find myself, that love within myself, that unconditional love within myself. So it's not necessary for me to need that from outside of myself. And then, to the best of my ability, allow that to flow over to others and help them find the truth of who they are too.
There's so much in that I absolutely love. And, it's interesting. A lot of us go through this awakening and this enlightenment looking for, I'm going to find happiness, or I need to find this new thing. And I believe, just as you do, no, you just need to get back to where you were happy and back to that unconditional love that you have for yourself. And that trauma and those experiences just clouds it, right? Doesn't that just prevent us? The addictions just cover it. That's just, we fall into the overeating or drugs or alcohol because we're just covering something up and we haven't cleared it out yet. And I love all that you guys are doing And I love that your wife comes to you at a time when you're at your best. I just did a dating podcast earlier where you got to be your best to attract the best. So cool that you and Jamie met that way. What do you think? I know that we're sort of, I think, here in the States embracing psychedelics. What's the connection between the ayahuasca and the psychedelics, and do you think there is similarities, or which is more effective?
Yeah. So great question. And I think caveat, because if Jamie re-listens to this, I would probably say right now, I was on the way to being my best. She met me and she's been a big part of helping me heal that trauma process. It's like we met and then we both fell apart into each other's arms and then come back whole and complete, recognizing that. And it's been a journey.
Yes.
Wow, it's been a whole. We could talk to you about five hours just about that journey, but we'll move on to psychedelics and the states. So ayahuasca can be described as a psychedelic medicine. It's not really a terminology that we use so much. It's not something that's so resonant with us. We prefer plant medicine, but it would be described as a psychedelic or an entheogen. So in a similar category, although ayahuasca by far I would say is in a category of its own, it's completely different, just as other plant medicines are different. People might talk about magic mushrooms or psilocybin as a psychedelic, and that's what's becoming more decriminalized in the States and is kind of at the forefront, I would say, of the psychedelic movement in terms of decriminalization in the States. And then we kind of get into a gray area where we can also discuss some pharmaceuticals as psychedelics, which, might come into like LSD and on some level ketamine as well. But there's a difference there because I've got a chemistry background, so I use this as much as I can because I paid for it. So I have to like share a little
Heck
bit about
yeah.
it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Get your money's worth. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
The chemical of that, even if you create the chemical analog of a plant medicine, it loses the spirit. It doesn't have the spirit. It's still consciousness. Chemicals are still consciousness. It's not void of consciousness, but it's void of the plant medicine consciousness. It's a synthetic, it's a man-made consciousness versus something that's natural and that has a spirit, which is multidimensional in this sense. Just like these plants behind me are alive, they have their own vibration. Just like when you spray your plants and you water and you talk to them, you can feel the vibration of those. There's a spirit, a multidimensionally how these plant medicines work, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on many different planes. So I just want to make that differentiation first and then talk about really what we would call, I think, is a psychedelic renaissance. I think I will be saying it something like that. That's happening right now. And I think that we need to firstly embrace plant medicines, but simultaneously be aware that these powerful plant medicines are not something to necessarily play with or toy around with. Although, again, this is just my own personal experience, that engaging with these sacred plant medicines in a way that's trauma informed, in a way that's very catalytical for that healing process, can be very, very powerful. So I think it's really great that in the States this decriminalization is coming. My concerns are as follows. One, with decriminalization, that some people may just go around and use plant medicines in the not proper setting and perhaps re-traumatize themselves, and then actually make it difficult for these plant medicines to be legalized, because there'll be many cases of people taking this without experience, not in a ceremonial setting, not with someone to be able to look after them through that process, to help process that. Just like for myself, I had a load of repressed trauma that I wasn't aware of. Some people will take a plant medicine and they'll come into an awareness that perhaps they were raped or abused as a child, or something violent happened. How do you process that? What do we do? Because when that comes up, you can't put it back in the box, or you can try, but it can be re-traumatizing. So firstly, I would just say, whatever it is, again, nothing against people using plant medicines in their own way, is how do we avoid re-traumatization? How do we avoid re-traumatization? And that really is through education. That's through trauma-informed care. And that's through working with people, in my experience, who are able to guide you through that process. And ultimately and eventually, you may be able to learn how to do that on your own, just as it was for me. I wasn't capable of taking ayahuasca on my own at the beginning, but through going through many, many years of training, being able to then hold space for others, that was a perfect path for me. Everyone has their own path. The other side of what I would say is with regards to the complete institutionalization of plant medicines or psychedelics, where it only becomes available to practitioners or licensed therapists, which is then kind of like the other end of that spectrum, where we then just start putting all these rules and regulations on things which actually prevent the magic of the medicine from working with people. In that, we also, in my experience, because this is a really big part of the work, need to invite the ceremonial aspect of the work, because it's the ceremonial aspect of the way that we work with these in the right set intention and setting that creates that optimum environment for healing. Now, as a caveat as well, there is no one path. Some people will find it much better to be able to work with plant medicines in a way where they're working with a therapist who is trained in therapeutics with psychedelia. Some others may actually be finding that they're going out into nature and being able to meditate and put their own set and setting and be with the plants, be with nature, recognize themselves as oneness is actually the perfect path for them. And then in addition to that, then people who are actually ready to come and do deep ceremonial work in a way that's trauma informed, where people are able to guide you through that, then that's another path. I think that what we should really recognize is that there's benefits in each of these paths, and that if we can create safe, integrous settings for people, ultimately, I do not believe that law enforcement and governments will ultimately have any reason to keep these substances illegal. And if we actually create the right conversations like this, if we're able to discuss this in a way, we're able to help each other how that we create this optimum environment for healing, it will be very transformative on a personal and collective level. With the caveat also that we need to be very careful when we're talking about plant medicines is that you don't have to take plant medicines to heal. You don't have to be able to take plant medicines to heal. In fact, it's contraindicated with many different medical conditions or psychological states. It might not be the path for you. So in my experience, how we can create this tool, which is widely available to people who are ready to come and do this work, it's our life's work, and why we do it in the way that we do. That we help educate, we help inform, we help people to have these safe, transformative experiences so that they can come home, integrate these experiences, and transform their lives.
I completely agree with you. It's like comparing therapy, counseling, and life coaching. You know, there's not a one size fits all, but life coaching may work better for someone, and therapy may work better for someone else. I love that. The gist of it is that if we're doing it in a healthy way and we're with someone who understands how we have to be careful with this and walk through this, this isn't just some feel good party drug. This is for a purpose. And I love that your life's purpose, and that your wife as well, involving the plants and the spirits. I'm very much a believer that we have to be in nature. And I think you saying that about the plants and losing the excuse me, the characteristic of the spirit of the plant, I agree with you. I think even with marijuana, I know that it can be abused in one way, but in other ways, it is still more natural than something we've made in a chemistry lab. And I think it's good that we are at least embracing the idea that we can do this. If we keep this in a clinical or safe environment, or even going out in nature by ourselves and doing a meditation, I love everything that you said about that. Now, when you say, I love trauma informed. That's my favorite word that you're saying right now, is be trauma informed, trauma informed. Tell me what trauma informed involves, and when you say we help them process it so they don't re-traumatize, I'm so interested in that and what that means, and what does it look like when I sign up for this with you?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for asking that. Firstly, I'd say that our 10-day ayahuasca healing and evolution retreats are a container over the period of 10 days where you're in person with us in 10 days. And it's a really, really transformative experience where we're able to disseminate many different teachings and informations that we've learned on our own path, able to channel information from spirit to be able to help people heal and evolve, and do this in a safe, trauma-informed way, which we'll dive into now. So again, from my own bias, the reason that we do these 10-day healing and evolution retreats is because I hand on my heart know and believe that when people come and work with us in that setting, it's highly transformative, and it may take people a lot longer period of time to get to where you're going if you don't have that kind of right teacher or guide. So we're here as a teacher or a guide to help you awaken yourself. And the analogy that I love to use is like Morpheus in the Matrix. Morpheus being the teacher, Morpheus's job is to help Neo awaken. It's not how to teach him how to be the one, it's how for him to learn how to be the one himself. So this is what we're here as guides and teachers, and why we're so effective at this is we're always pointing this back to yourself. We always have the plant medicines as a framework that it's going to awaken you to the power of your own consciousness, which is not often done. It's not always done in this way. Often our power is given away to things outside of ourselves, like plants, and we've become reliant on these things to heal ourselves. It's not the case. They're portals for us to awaken our own inner healers. So part of the trauma-informed care is really empowering people. And this is at the heart and the core of what we do. It's also about being transparent. It's also about giving people choice, about creating integrous and safe environments. It's also about collaborating with people about your own healing journey. So there's many different arms and more that I could talk about here. But at the essence of it, when you come to work with us in a trauma-informed way, it means that we take into account that you may have experienced trauma and that you may not be aware of that. So we treat and work with you in a way that accommodates for you to awaken and heal yourself through that trauma, while simultaneously recognizing that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, that you're already whole and complete, that there may just have been events within your life which may have caused traumatization. So we don't see you as a victim in that sense. We're able to help you awaken to that truth. We're able to, throughout this whole process, tell you everything about the medicines that you're going to be taking, give you an invitation, a choice if you want to take the plant medicine this evening, how much you would like to take, what activities that you would like to partake in. We're also completely transparent about what the effects may be, what the risks may be, how that you can look after yourself. We're first aid trained, and we're able to have protocols and safety procedures in place that really account for all eventualities. We're able to take people through these processes in a way where when people are able to collaborate with us and with the plants in their own healing process, that integration of that, people go away feeling empowered, being empowered through the recognition that they have all the tools that they need themselves. So it's really about how do we build people up to recognize, I'm already this big. How do we help people create that foundation for healing? And that's very, very important. And there's more nuances to that in everything that we do, in the way that we also perhaps how any physical interaction or contact. For instance, sometimes we may need to help people, or we need to do some energetic healing or cleansing or things like this. It's just like, would you be okay if I put my hand on your head at the moment? So again, we're letting you know what we're going to do. We're giving you an informed choice. For instance, if someone's going through a process of remembering some PTSD or trauma or abuse, it might not be very useful for someone to put a hand on touch, or someone to say, I don't want anyone to touch me right now. So we live all like Jamie and I joke, we have a trauma-informed marriage. This is what because we've both gone through so much trauma and abuse in our own lives that we triggered so much out of each other. And, even situations of intimacy, of living life, of being able to express healthy boundaries. It really is a way of being. It's allowing people to heal that trauma without anyone feeling bad for the fact that you need some space, for enable to people to say no without feeling like it's putting someone out. Actually, to empower you to say, actually, it's awesome that you're ready to say no, because you might not have been saying no your whole life. So through this whole process, to come back to the informedness, the trauma-informed part, we're informing you about this whole process, like we're talking about what our retreats are here. If you go to our website, casagalactica.com, you'll see so much information about what it's like for us to come on a retreat with us. Whole FAQ section, whole video that takes you on a guided tour view through the sacred valley of where we live. So we give you all this information so that you can make an informed choice. We also have a really in-depth health and wellness screening questionnaire, plus a pre-retreat preparation session that we go through your whole entire trauma, abuse, physical, mental emotional history, so that we're able to talk with you honestly and see if there's any contraindications that may be arising. Talk about any situations that may be a cause concern or a red flag or something that might cause you perhaps injury or harm if you were to partake in plant medicines. So we go through these vigorous health and safety checks at the beginning so that we can ensure that people come to us are suitable participants to work in plant medicine. And if you're not, we work with you in different ways through our online trauma healing sessions, through online in-person work, through intuitive readings and different courses. We don't say that we won't work with you. And in many cases, someone who might not be perhaps the perfect fit for plant medicine at this stage in time, perhaps after 2 or 3 months of working with us, then coming off some different antidepressants or medications, then perhaps in the future, you may be at that point where we can say, now it's safe for you to come and work with us. On the back end of that, we also have a really in-depth integration program where we have a monthly integration circle that's free for people to attend. We have this completely ongoing. You also have individual integration sessions. And then we also have much more work that you can continue to do with us online. So for us, you can work with us as long as you want. We never leave you alone. We're here. Well, that's so. We will leave you alone if we want to coming back to the trauma-informed choice. We will never leave you alone in that sense. That we're here to support you through that process, and that's really a great joy for us to do that. So, I would say, trauma-informed care is being present with people exactly as they are, not judging people, and holding space for people to heal themselves and trusting in that process of everything that we've just shared.
That is so great because we're all at different stages, and I'm listening to all the different ways that you meet people where they're at, because we're all at a different place in our experience, in this human experience. I am a medium. I am a spirit guide medium, and found that out by mistake. We are all able to communicate. I know this. Everybody has these abilities. When you don't think that you're ever going to have these abilities, or don't even try to have these abilities, and they come, it can be a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wrote my first book, I started with the channeling, and I don't even remember writing that book. It was 8 weeks, start to finish, published. And I go back and read the book, and I was telling my husband, I said, this is really good. I don't remember writing any of this. It's interesting how I was tuned in. Then through the life coaching, I started being able to do the readings and the mediumship and connect people to their spirit teams and their ancestors and their guides. So what's interesting is what you were saying is so neat. When you're in the enlightenment arena and you're in the what I would like to say self-awareness journey, or the soul journey, I find that we all have this different piece that we contribute. And as I listen to what you were saying, I think, there's this step in life coaching that I do. I'm all about what you are talking about. Is I focus on what's good about you, and we build from there. And you talk about, we're going to clear out the trauma, and we're going to build on how amazing you are and this unconditional love you have for yourself. I think, and I want to know if you agree, that the bottom line of finding joy and living your purpose in this physical life is having that self-love and understanding why you're here. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think I'd like to break that down a little bit. Firstly, thanks for sharing the work that you do and the books that you've written. I'm sure are fabulous, and just can feel the vibration and the love that you share talking about it. So thank you for all the work that you're doing in service to everyone. I think clearing out the trauma is an important part of the process. I think we can also get stuck there. And I think that is sometimes a trap that we fall in when we first start healing trauma and we start clearing out those blocks. We can find ourselves going into a deep process of healing, which can be, like a healing crisis. It can be very difficult for people to kind of, even be stable in relationships and work, because all this stuff that's been like kept away, like we were talking about the addictions, all that stuff. One part through my healing process, I didn't leave the house for 2 months when I was going through the deep depths. Thankfully, Jamie was able to support us. I couldn't work. I couldn't do it. I was able to go really deep into that healing process. And I think that we get very good at healing because then we learn, we survive, we learn to survive, and then we learn to heal ourselves, and we get good at processing things. But then what we don't always naturally fall onto is the fact that we're actually designed to thrive, that actually on the other side of this, that we can come back to thriving. So yeah, the clearing out of that trauma, naturally on the other side of that is the unconditional love. Naturally on the other side of that is that peace and compassion. So when we go through that process of healing that trauma, other part of the work that we do is just that, what you were mentioning about connecting with spirit. A lot of the work that we do is self-realization, recognition of oneself as the unconditional love, as the infinite creator creation. Other work that we do is helping people learn to channel, learn to communicate with spirit, learn to activate their already innate intuitive abilities. As you said, everyone can connect to spirit. It's not a special gift. The fact that you're actually born on earth means that you are able to communicate with everyone and everything. It's just not mainstream. I think it's becoming more mainstream, but not super mainstream still. And that is the other aspect of when we can start coming out on that other side of the trauma cloud, we can actually start to recognize the magic and the innate wonder of the universe. And I think that's when we step from surviving to thriving.
I completely agree with that. Now, our subconscious holds memory, and it is not geared through feeling. So it is not emotional. Our subconscious is a storage of memory. So when we clear out our trauma, how do we prevent going back to the memory in the subconscious when things are triggered? So I call it like your motherboard basically is your subconscious. So we try to clean out the motherboard, but sometimes there's a glitch and we go back to the old program. I like to think that's when I life coach the clients that I life coach. I like to say this is when our coping and our adaptation and our reframing come in. We have to practice it because there isn't a magic moment where all of a sudden our trauma is cleared and we're never going to go back to that again. So what do you think of when it's revisited or it comes back up? How do we keep practicing releasing that?
A few things come up, and I'm just going to come back to my marriage for a moment. And I choose to be married every day. I choose marriage. It wasn't a decision. It wasn't a decision a few years ago. It wasn't, oh, I decided to be married and now I'm married. It's like how I act, show up, behave, my commitment and love for Jamie, and how I show up in that way. There's a choice every day that I make to build and strengthen our marriage. Now, we can turn this back in terms of self-love. Ultimately, we're all choosing to a certain degree the vibration which we are wanting to inhibit. Say that with a caveat, because there may be unconscious repressed trauma that may come up, and then we find ourselves going back, what you say, to that glitch. So the first thing is to what I would say in terms of the choosing that vibration, just for someone who wants to get fitter or healthier, like there would be a choosing of the vibration of health and fitness, and it might be going to the gym or going for a jog or a run every day. There's a choice to maintain that vibration. If you don't continue running or doing that fitness over a period of time, your respiratory fitness kind of depletes, and you may go back to like that motherboard of what you were mentioning. So there's that choosing, that recognition, the integration, and we do a lot of work with integration, is how do I then start choosing the vibration that I prefer? So when we go through these healing processes with ayahuasca and plant medicines, life transformation can happen instantaneously, but then the actual integration of that can take several months, even years, because then you're having to choose. Just in my situation, I have to choose to be sober. I have to choose not to do that. And for me, the choice is very easy these days. But for the very beginning part, very difficult, and it's not always been plain sailing. That comes up, that glitch. There was a period of time where I went back to smoking cigarettes, and there was a period of time where I went back to having the occasional beer, and I just noticed then the addiction coming back in. So in this same sense, though, if I went back to that motherboard, like I did on just saying about the smoking and drinking occasionally, and kind of just like kind of feeling that addiction coming up, then for me, there was something in there at that motherboard level that wasn't healed, that wasn't cleared. So what me actually going back wasn't actually regression. It was me going deeper. It was me going deeper into the wound. So there's without spiritually bypassing anything ourselves, there's an opportunity to recognize that if we regress back into something, on some level, there may be more for us to see, more for us to heal, more for us to do. And it's simultaneously, there is that kind of free will choice that we make that on some level, there's kind of just like the energy of just saying, I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm going to choose this. Or it's just kind of like when you get up in the morning, it's like, I'm going to set my alarm and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do meditation 15 minutes. If you don't do that, that vibration is not going to be there. You have to, on some level, be proactive in that. And that's what I would describe as the choice. When you're having the choice, you're having choice to act upon the vibration that you prefer. And then on some cases, it's involuntary when perhaps there is a repressed memory or trauma or something else that comes up, which is kind of just that situation of like, when people just go back and they just can't stop drinking, or they just keep going in this situation. Just like at the beginning part for me, before I'd found ayahuasca, every time that I try to stop smoking, stop drinking, I was never able to actually choose that vibration fully because I didn't see all the trauma. I didn't know all the abuse. I had all this other unraveling to do. So I think it's just this acceptance of where we're at, and then asking for help, and then learning how to integrate and inhibit the vibration that we prefer.
Ooh, I have to write fast because I love everything you're saying. Acceptance, asking, and then integrating. And I completely agree with you 1,000,000%. In life coaching, I always say, first we got to recognize the things you're doing before we can integrate something different. You can't change something you don't know you're doing. And I really love that. And the theme of every single podcast with my guests is everyone who's overcome anything in their life has said, I finally realized I had a choice. And when you said that, the irony of that is I always say on my mindfulness and positivity Facebook group, Happy Tuesday. And here we are on Tuesday. So I really, really, really love that. Yes, that's interesting that you say that. I've never looked at it that in that way, that if I'm revisiting something, it means I have to go deeper. Because I've always looked at it as if I'm asking for an experience over and over. So I'm either learning still or I'm going to be teaching. And once I've healed, I'm ready to teach. And when I'm asking for a repetitive experience in my life, then I'm not ready to teach it yet. So I haven't healed that fully. And
Mm-hmm.
that resonated so much with me where you said, then you have to go deeper. Because I find when I think I've achieved something, so for instance, so I have, say, a romantic relationship, and I get out of that because I know I deserve more and I have self-value and self-worth now. I'm like, great, I'm great in that area. Then all of a sudden I have a family member who's mistreating me and treating me as if I'm not worthy. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I got out of this romantic thing. Why is this presenting itself? And then I have a friendship that comes along. I've been finding myself in those moments. It keeps repeating itself, and I keep saying, wait a minute, I thought I already achieved that. I thought I already got through that experience. Why am I asking to repeat this experience over and over? What do you think is the answer?
Okay, great. I love this. So a couple of things. One, again, and we've had similar situations simultaneously because we lived here in the Sacred Valley for periods of time. We've lived in the jungle, and ultimately, when the kind of pandemic hit, we decided to move back to the Sacred Valley and build our new retreat center here and work out of here. Now, it's interesting that what we found through this process, and some of the reasons and some of the things that in our own personal processes of building a business and holding retreats, there were some things that we kind of felt like, well, I can't wait to kind of like leave this behind in the jungle. And then it just like shows itself up in a different way. And it's like, you're not getting away from that one. You're not getting away
Exactly.
from that one. So it's like Jamie and I have been laughing and just like, it's hilarious, you know. And of course, this is not the overarching thinking like, oh, nothing's changed. We're absolutely so happy where we love and live and work. And it's an absolute, I would say, a beautiful and perfect choice for us. And that choice of that choosing where we want to be. So there's that recognition of that self-awareness of just taking a few breaths. And for us, it's just like, well, you know, what is there for me to learn out of this? What is the process for me? How do I shift and change this? And there's been, different energies that we've been kind of interacting with that have enabled us to really integrate and change the vibration which we operate at through being reminded that lesson continuously. Now, the quantum kind of, or I would say the quantum leap the quantum process of what really can happen for people in this process that I'd like to make people aware. And again, anything I've shared here today doesn't resonate with you, please feel free to leave it behind. But this is my experience, and this has helped a lot of clients that I work with in my online healing sessions. When we reach that point where that pattern and that behavior and that relationship and that situation keeps presenting itself, and we've kind of done so much healing on that process, we've really scraped the barrel in terms of all the lessons, all the knowings. The question to ask is, why am I afraid to let this go? Why am I afraid to let this pattern and behavior and go? And on some levels, feeling like we can't do things, or we can't do our work, or feeling like we can't have these relationships, or that I can't be happy, on some level, even though it sounds twisted, there is a benefit there that we actually on some level still believe that we're actually safer being small. We're actually safer being inhibited. That can often come back to our trauma and abuse and PTSD. But then the invitation is to take a look around. Is like, is that really my situation in life now? Because I think on the inside, we all want to flourish and shine, but that coming out, that blooming, just like that butterfly coming out that chrysalis for the first time, that's a brand new world. And on some level, even though that old world has died, that chrysalis is no longer home, there's still that invitation for us to kind of just say, I'm not ready to come back out right now. So to kind of wrap that up into what we've been talking about in the integration, sometimes as we're coming out of that chrysalis, we might want to go back in for a minute and actually say, oh, there's a few more things inside that I need to kind of integrate and work through so that I'm actually going to feel like I can fly when I come out on the other side. But ultimately and eventually, I think that, like, as all birds fly from the nest, how many times you've ever looked over the side of that? Ultimately and eventually, when you feel ready, when you feel safe enough to do that in your own trauma-informed way, we all fly from the nest. And the question is, what am I believing that's keeping me playing small, investigating those limiting beliefs, those perspectives and behaviors, really finding out if they're really true, really finding out if that's the vibration that you choose to inhabit. Because when you see that limiting belief, when you become aware of it, when you take time in meditation or trauma healing sessions or whatever it may be to investigate that belief, when you see it, you can't unsee it. So when it's seen, on some level, there's already more choice than the unseen. Again, it might not always be able to just be as easy as I'm not going to do this anymore, but sometimes it is. So the question is, why am I not choosing what I prefer?
Listeners, are you hearing this? Because I'm mesmerized. I could listen to Michael talk all day. And literally, I think I just had an internal breakthrough. So I need to go to a 10-day retreat in Peru for sure. That's going to be on my bucket list for the next 2023, I think. You really, really helped me. As you said, why am I afraid to let this go? That's what resonated with me. I can experience this thing over and over and think, I've gotten through this, and I'm proud of myself. I validate myself. I know my coping skills. I can do this. You know what? You're absolutely right. Why am I afraid to let this go? In a way, tell me if you agree, we have trauma identity. Like, if I don't identify as I was this person who went through all of this thing, that's what I bring to the world, then it's almost like I can't let that go, because then am I of any value anymore if I'm not a broken person, or if I'm not a trauma-minded person? I mean, really, that was such a breakthrough just now hearing you say that. I did a little shadow work for a second there and went, oh my gosh, Maureen, it's not that I'm stuck at the trauma, but I hang on to it, that little seed in the back of my head. You got to hang on to that little piece of it. So what do you think?
Well, firstly, I think you should book a plane ticket and come and see us. We'd love to have you. So if you ever want to talk about that off the show, just feel free to send us a message. We can talk more. We'd absolutely love to host you here through that process of healing and evolution with us. It's thank you for your interest in that. What I would say to kind of just go further through that is, firstly, I'm glad that I'm able to reflect that to you so that you can have your own process of healing. And the analogy that wants to come forth is, imagine, say, for instance, and again, nothing wrong with working in IT or a data entry job. I'm just using something that people maybe be able to connect with. that perhaps there's like an IT or a data entry job or something that someone was just really not liking. It doesn't matter what the job is. It's just something that's just like, this is not what I want to do. I'm bored. This is just like kind of mind numbing. I don't want to do this anymore. So whatever that may be for anyone. And then we've kind of been in that like 10 or 15 years. And this really amazing job. And the kind of the other kind of like thing on the other side comes, it's like, you get to be a rock star. You get to be a musician and a rock star, and you get to be touring all around the world. And again, this might not be for everyone, but this is your dream. And then it's like, that dream's available, and someone invites you to the band, and we're like, yeah, let's just say like Freddie Mercury is still alive, and Freddie Mercury's like, you want to join Queen? And then you're just like, oh, I'm really good at data entry. I've learned all of this. I get my value from data entry. I've learned all this. If I let go of the data entry job, then the last 10, 15 years have been a waste of time. So I'm not ready to let that go anymore. So we can apply that to the trauma healing process, that we find ourselves, what I would say is, stuck in the old vibration of who we are. And what that means is that there is a new timeline, there's a new earth, there's a new vibration, there's a new way of being that's actually all in alignment with unconditional love, passion, where things come to you, abundance come to you, relationships, whatever it is, that things are easy. Things are easy. Things just come to you. But we don't know that. We can't trust that straight away because we're still in that trauma mindset. We're still in that situation where we're holding on to the old identity. So when we hold on to that data entry job, when we hold on to that data entry job, because on some level, that has been the thing that's got us through from being at a situation with no job, where we didn't have any money, we didn't have any food or a roof over our head. So at that point in time, identifying with a data entry person or the person who's able to heal their own trauma is actually really powerful, because it's actually been a step forward on some level. But then there's the disbelief that your life can get any better. The only reason that you're holding on to the things that no longer serve you is because you don't believe that you deserve anymore. Like, you don't know that is available to you. Because if you truly believed that you could be a rock star and run around the world and you'd be completely abundant and all these other things, you'd just turn around tomorrow and you'd hand your notice in and you go and live the life that you prefer. So the question that we come back in is, why do I not know that I deserve love, happiness, and joy? Why do I not believe in myself? Then we can come up against a load of other limiting beliefs, other things like that. We can investigate those. But the invitation is to know, to trust. And I can say this from my higher self, from experience of dying over and over again, just dying over and over again, different lives, situations, jobs, work situations. I can honestly say that we only let go of things that no longer truly are resonant for us. So you can live with that mantra, is that I'm ready to invite all the things in my life that are truly in alignment with me, and I'm ready to let go of all of those things that no longer serve me. And then you can just get on the ride, and you can stop worrying if it's going to work out or not. You can just allow it to unfold. And that's where we start to trust in that universe. We're able to be that butterfly that flies out from the chrysalis and just knows that even if I only live for 3 days, it's going to be my perfect life, and that's my existence.
Yes. Oh, the butterfly. We all need to be butterflies. It's letting go of the self-preservation survival mentality, because this is what I know. And I think that's the one side of the veil and the other side of the veil, where people fear what they don't know. And so they think, what I do know, it's not everything that's serving me the best it could serve me, but at least it's what I know. And that fear is really that limiting belief of being able to just take that leap off that cliff. And I just love that. We all see that the same way. Anyone who's been through anything knows, without taking that step and being that Freddie Mercury, you're never going to know. And do you want to die with the regret, or do you want to just take the chance that maybe it's not, going to fail?
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think the other question to ask is, when does self-preservation become self-degradation? When does that change? Because something that might have been self-preservation 6 months ago, because you've changed, is now actually a cage that's keeping you contained. So the question is this evaluation of, where am I right now, right this second, right today. Stop holding yourself accountable to who you used to be. Start believing in who you are right now and give yourself absolute permission to transform in every moment. Live from that place.
Listeners, did you hear what he said? And I'm going to write that down. When does self-preservation become self-degradation? Because we are ebb and flow energy, and we change every single day. So what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. What was 2 years ago, I was a single parent raising kids in a corporate job that I absolutely despised. And this last December, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I started my life coaching and wrote the books 4 years ago, but I was hanging on. I was self-degrading, degrading. I can't get that word out. That's what I was doing. I was holding on to that old belief that it's self-preservation. I need the security because, gosh, what would happen if something happened to my husband? So what a wonderful, wonderful awareness that you just gave us all, guys. When does self-preservation become self-degradation? And when you're feeling you're not in alignment and you're not in the vibration of your highest desires, and what your intuition is telling you brings you the most joy, then you know you're in self-degradation. Gosh, I can't get that one out. So as we wrap up today, I just, you are so, I could just sit here and listen to you all day. I'm really engrossed in your mind and the words and the experiences that you give to everybody. I love it. I love it. We are going to meet one day in person. I know this. So we're going to close this up with how can everyone find you? Where can they find you? What do you have coming up? Any promos, any books they can go to? All of it. It's all you right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you, listeners. Thank you, Maureen, for having me an absolute beautiful conversation. I agree. We could talk all afternoon, but I know that we both have places to go. So thanks, listeners. Please go to casagalactica.com and we have all the information about all of our work there. That's casagalactica.com. Invite you to check out our 10-day ayahuasca healing and evolution retreats, where we go into so much depth, into so many more deeper levels and layers, working with ayahuasca ceremonies, channeled workshops, different plant medicines, saunas, campfires, one-on-one sessions in a trauma-informed, safe environment limited to just 4 people, that is designed to help activate your intuition, empower your healing, and embody your truth, i.e. help you integrate and choose the vibration more and more easily, come home to the truth of who you are, and choose that consciously and effectively and efficiently in every aspect of your life. So if you want more information about that, you can also get a 30-minute free consultation with me or my wife, Jamie. So you can book that via our website, and we can talk about your own personal situation of how that may benefit you, talk through any fears or anything that might be coming up, and talk to you about the logistics of how that can be reality for you. We'd also invite you to join our mailing list. And the reason being is that when you do that, you're going to get some amazing tools for transformation into your inbox straight away. You're going to get a 5-hour Fundamentals of Healing Trauma workshop, which I taught online as part of my Healing Evolution workshop series. Within that, there's also a multidimensional healing ceremony, which gives you a little taste of what it's like to sit in an ayahuasca ceremony with us. And then we also have, written by my amazing wife, Jamie, a beginner's handbook to strengthening your own innate intuition. You can go and get that straight away as well, plus 20% off your first online session with Jamie or I. So hope to see you there. And yeah, please feel free as well to go to our growth portal, where we have other conversations such as this, talking about plant medicines, ayahuasca, healing and evolution, channeling, all of the above, and much, much more. So thank you so much for your attention, and just sending a prayer of love and gratitude out to you all, and just wishing you all the best. Thanks so much, Maureen, and all the listeners.
There's nothing that he is not able to. Ooh, that's a that's a negative. But there isn't anything involved with healing and trauma healing that they cannot help you with. He just listed this entire list of getting the free booklet, for getting the 30-minute call with them. So before I leave every guest, I always say, what is the one thing you never knew?
I was already healed.
Yeah, you were already healed. You just didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
You had to find it.
I knew it was going to be okay. I didn't know I was going to meet my wife, Jamie. I didn't know that I was going to live this. I didn't know that I was going to go from a 12-year-old kid feeling like I wanted to die to living this life that's just filled with so much joy and love and compassion. The level of transformation that I've been able to go through, I did not know was possible. And that's available for everyone. It's not just me. And I just wish you all the best. Whatever that path may be, know you're already healed. Know it's already all okay. There's nothing that you can do to be not unconditionally loved. So just go and live your life how you really want to.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. Whatever stage any of our listeners are at, that's a beautiful thing to share with them. So the very last question that I ask everyone is a little bit lighter and a little more fun. What is your shameless self-indulgence that you do for yourself?
Motorcycle riding through the Andean Mountains. Yes.
Now, see, people surprise me. That really just surprised the heck out of me. You can knock me off my chair right now. See, I love that. You never know what people do to find their joy, and you like motorcycle riding through the Andes Mountains, you said?
Yes, indeed.
What kind of motorcycle do you have?
Well, that's a sad story. I don't have one at the moment. When we went back to the jungle, we sold one, and over the last year or so, we've been investing everything into the center and the work and bringing people here. So this last year has been, I would say, in that sense, a little bit selfless. Yet my shameless self preservation, or whatever you want to call it, is a motorcycle's coming soon. We've got the dry season coming up again next year, so we've still got out chance to like rent motorcycles from time to time. But yeah, my wife and I, we love to go on big trips around. So that's our way of just really, I think probably the best way to enjoy physical reality is just driving through the mountains on a motorcycle. So yeah, we'll be getting another one again soon.
I love it. Yes, get out in nature. I think anything in nature, the wind in your hair is wonderful. Get into the vibration of it. Don't make me start a GoFundMe page for you, because I'm like, you need a motorcycle now. So you'll get it. I know you will. You're going to manifest that. And the fact that you're so driven and motivated to do this life's work to help others. I think everyone in any arena of speaking motivationally or healing work or light workers, teachers, all of it, the beauty of the bottom line is that we've all had these experiences that we've chosen to bring forward into the world and raise the vibration of the planet so everyone can learn from each other, because that is why we are here, is to help one another. So Michael, you are such a joy, and I'm so grateful that you are on today. You're just a plethora of information and knowledge. And even shocking things. I mean, a chemistry major? Wow, okay. So thank you so much, and we are going to reconnect, guys. Thank you for listening today. If you want to contact me, I'm at lifecoachmaureen.com. My books are available on Amazon. My dog is more enlightened than I am, and my dog is my relationship coach, as I believe that our animals teach us unconditional love every day. And please go leave a 5-star review. Please share and get your friends listening to this podcast so we can share the love and raise the vibration. Michael, you're amazing. I thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you so much. Beautiful, absolutely great experience, and really, really fantastic to connect with you all. Please do not hesitate to reach out. Anyone, more than happy to connect with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the I Never Knew podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring and educational, please be sure to follow, subscribe, and spread the word. The more people that join the Inc. community, the more it can develop and influence others as we work together for a healthier and brighter future. Until next time.